We've come a long way since the first Iron Man movie, Black Widow. It took some time, but we finally got here. Natasha Romanoff finally gets her due. And while we know what happens to her, we finally get the last piece of the puzzle, the last little bit of her story before she fades into the annals of Marvel history. And honestly, I thought it was pretty good. At first, I thought the 2-hour and 13-minute runtime was a little excessive, but there are some decent levels of action and cooldown parts that are really well balanced. The stuff about Natasha's quote-unquote family, all spies, by the way. Well, spies, assassins, super soldiers, whatever. Basically, her family wasn't her family, and yeah, that's basically it. And I'm not going to do much spoiling, but I will say that a lot of stuff that gets set up early in the timeline comes back here in spades. And while I thought certain characters were a certain way, turns out they weren't. And certain characters that I was worried were going to stay dead, turns out they weren't. Basically, this movie does keep you guessing, so kudos. Scarlett Johansson is at her best. The culmination of her character through and through. The rest of the cast, the actress playing her sister, decent. Sort of a Black Widow light, but good in her own right. Sheriff Hopper from Stranger Things as the communist Captain America, or in this case, communist Captain Russia. He was tough as nails, but also funny. And when he did an emotional scene, it was both moving and at times kind of funny. And he just worked. And he even got some good action sequences. Rachel Weisz, turns out she makes a pretty good Russian. And honestly, I don't know if she used any age reduction computer software or whatever to make herself look younger, because the woman does not age. She not only does not age, but her character was very compelling and enjoyable. And the villain? Oh, I loved to hate him. Basically, he's everything wrong with the male animal, basically. He's definitely a character women will hate in a good way. And he's a character men will hate in a good way for making us look bad. And he really was kind of pathetic overall. Not as a bad guy. He was great as a bad guy. But the character is someone worth looking down on with disdain. I had no problem not sympathizing with him whatsoever. He was a villain you would enjoy seeing immolated. Not spoiling, I'm just saying that's something I would choose for him. A couple of side characters. One guy was funny, and one side villain was rather layered, although I do hope we get to see that person again in future Marvel stories, because I'd like to think that they didn't just disappear after this movie. I kind of want to see them come back as maybe a hero or even a well-rounded villain. Overall, the whole cast, even down to the bit parts, did great. The music, lovely. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of Avengers, a little bit of American Pie. Not the movie, the song. The effects were phenomenal. The best I've seen in years. Fight choreography, great. The stunts were very, very intense and enjoyable. Overall, I think this is a fine addition to the Marvelverse and a fitting send-off for everyone's favorite Russian assassin. I can't recommend it enough, no matter what gender you are. This is Mr. J signing out and reminding you, if they're popular in comic books, no one ever really dies. Das Vidanya.